We all know that a touch of magic can make for an incredible read. Here are 4 wonderful books that all contain elements of magical realism. Welcome back to the reading roulette, where for the next 10 days I'm going to pick a genre from this jar and give you my 4 best book recommendations from that genre. Today we picked magical realism. I simply had to sneak a romance into this video because it just so happens to be one of my favourite genres, and this book is one of my favourites and it contains an element of magical realism. I am of course talking about The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. All of her books are a good place to start when it comes to magical realism. Most people seem to love The 7 Year Slip, but my personal favourite is The Dead Romantics. In this we are following a ghostwriter who works for a best-selling romance author, and she's completely lost her faith in love. Her family owns this funeral home, and our main character also has the strange ability to be able to see ghosts. And one day a literal ghost turns up at her doorstep, and the story goes from there. I found this to be very funny, it's very heartfelt. I think it's a very clever mix of romance and magical realism, and I could not put it down. Next up is Shark Heart by Emily Habeck, which I absolutely loved for its incredibly unique take on grief, even though the premise of it is very strange, so just bear with me for a second. It follows Lewis and Ren, 2 newlyweds whose first year of marriage takes a very surreal turn when Lewis gets diagnosed with a condition that slowly sees him begin to turn into a great white shark. This is the kind of thing that happens in general in this book. People can just start to turn into animals. The chapters in this are super short. It makes for a very quick read. So if you're interested in magical realism and you want to pick up something a little bit different, this could be a really good option. I also really want to talk about Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. I also loved this one when I read it a couple of years ago, and it's very quietly magical. It follows Nadia and Saeed. They are 2 people who are falling in love in a city that's on the brink of civil war. And then they discover these mysterious doors that can transport them away from everything they know. They can basically just leave their world behind for a little bit. I would say though in this book that magical realism doesn't really take center stage. It's more about the relationship between our 2 protagonists. But despite that, I do think it's an incredibly touching and powerful story, and it's well worth the read. And then we of course have Matt Haig's The Midnight Library, a book that people either seem to love or they seem to hate. I am not ashamed to say that I am on the side of people who really love this book. In this we are following Nora, who finds herself in this library between life and death. And each book that she picks up lets her live a version of her life that she might have had if she had chosen differently. And as Nora picks up different books, she discovers that different lives will have had different consequences. I found it to be incredibly emotional and thought-provoking. I do think it's one of those books that is going to hit different depending on the time that you read it. It isn't going to be for everyone, but truly what book it is.